Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 181, and we are talking right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Nick Kalikas, of course, is our returning guest. He opens MMA odds and consults for numerous sports books, and our call-in guest this week, very special guy, Frank Trigg. He is an MMA analyst for MMAOddsBreaker.com, and also, of course, a former UFC welterweight contender. So he always brings a unique perspective to analyzing these fights. All right, Gilbert Melendez and Anthony Pettis. Pettis minus 250 right now, and he's got a lot of hype surrounding him. Right? He is, though, rehabbing another injury. The market is saying this fight's probably going to go the distance. Over 4.5 is minus 180. Under 4.5 is plus 150. And the question is, how game is Melendez, and maybe how overhyped is Pettis? Frank Trigg, what do you think?
This was a very interesting matchup because Melendez's style is battle, keep attacking, always attack, great cardio. Doesn't get very many, significant knockouts. Half of his wins are from knockouts, but you would think, being a Cesar Gracie black belt, that he'd have a lot more submissions in his repertoire as he has, but he doesn't. He doesn't get very many submissions, and what he does get a lot of is a lot of decisions. He's a guy that goes the distance and mauls you to death. Pettis is a tough guy to maul. He's really hard to hold down. He's very difficult to stop on his feet. Technically speaking, from a stand-up game, Pettis is light years ahead of where Melendez is as far as a strict stand-up game. But at an MMA with takedowns, Melendez has a style where he punches you a little bit in the head, and all of a sudden, he's stepping in for a big power punch, he's taking you down. And that is where the big decision is going to be. I'm leaning towards Melendez, even though Pettis is the champ and a dominant champ. Because of the injury, I don't think that Pettis has had enough time to get his cardio up to the level he needs to have it to be able to battle a guy like Gilbert Melendez.
All right, so then you do think then that Pettis is maybe a little bit overhyped, overvalued? I mean, you think that, number 6 pound for pound in the world is an accurate ranking, or do you think that's a little high?
I think that's an accurate ranking, but you're all talking about an elite athlete in Gilbert Melendez,
right,
and an athlete in Anthony Pettis that is just coming off of an injury. So add an injury to anybody. I don't care who you are, what level you're at. You look at the guys like Anderson Silva. He comes back from an injury. We're still questioning how he's going to do later after the leg break. But the same thing here with Anthony Pettis. Tough injury to come back from. He's still rehabbing it. He don't care what he says. He is not 100% with that injury. Gilbert Melendez is getting a slight nod for me.
All right. Awesome analysis. Frank Trigg pointing to the injury, the spot, the matchup, and the odds. Melendez plus 210. Nick Kalikas. Pettis has been getting a lot of hype. He is, he does have some injuries that are not a secret to anyone. Has the public been biting on Pettis as a big favorite anyway?
They have. I opened at minus 185 for Pettis, and it's been out for a long time. So, I mean, it's had time to kind of slowly creep up a little bit, and it's at the spot where it is now. So definitely the sports books need Gilbert Melendez coming into this fight. This is a tough one, man. I mean, because striking-wise, you can't argue how talented Anthony Pettis is. I mean, the guy's phenomenal. He's taken – I mean, look at what he did to Cowboy Cerrone. I mean, that tells you a lot right there. That's how talented this guy is. We don't see that happen to Cowboy very often, but that's how special Pettis is. Now, on the other hand, Gilbert Melendez has been one of these guys that he really has floated under the radar for a long time. I mean, he was arguably the best lightweight in the world for a while. Unfortunately, it took him some time to come into the UFC, and now that he's there, he is getting a little bit older in years. I think we could start seeing a sign of a decline from him eventually here. I don't think he's hit that spot yet, so I'm not saying that, but I think that, I mean, in his fight with Diego Sanchez, he dominated that fight, but he did get rocked towards the end there, and Pettis hits extremely hard. So I'm always dangerous. It's always a little bit dangerous counting a talented striker like Anthony Pettis out. I know Gilbert's never been knocked out, and he's tough as nails. But again, with the age factor, he's been out for a while as well. With the talent that Pettis has on the feet as well, I could see something like that going down. So that's a little risky. But as far as overall fighting goes, I think Gilbert Melendez is definitely the more evolved fighter. I think he's more talented, more well-rounded. I mean, he could strike. He's got underrated boxing coming into this fight. And, of course, he does have the wrestling advantage. I mean, that's what he's going to need to do to kind of get this fight to the ground, maybe grind Pettis up against the cage and try to control him for a decision. I think as far as grappling and jiu-jitsu goes, it's probably going to be a scratch. Like Frank pointed out, obviously Melendez, he should have more subs on his record considering, I mean, his background in jiu-jitsu and all. But Pettis is very dangerous, as he showed against Ben Henderson recently as well on the ground. So I think jiu-jitsu is a scratch. On the feet, you got to give the edge to Pettis, and on the ground, you got to give the pure wrestling edge to Melendez. So it's all going to play out depending on how these guys come in. If injuries really hurt Pettis, then it could definitely be a big factor. Or if Melendez does start hitting that little decline spot with his age, that could be a factor as well. So this is definitely a tough fight to bet.
All right, but to sum up, it sounds like you're then agreeing with what Frank Trigg had to say, considering that you opened the line at minus 185, that the current odds, it would be either dog or pass, and probably you see a little bit of value with Melendez at plus 210?
I do. I mean, if both these guys are coming in at 100%, there's no doubt about it. There would be tremendous value on Gilbert Melendez, I think, honestly. Because, in the past, I mean, Pettis' kryptonite has been getting taken down, controlled by some wrestlers. I know he's worked on that tremendously. I mean, he's hard to take down at this point. And it seems like he should be able to keep the fight upright against Gilbert. But I'm not sure. I mean, 100%, I would definitely side with Gilbert Melendez pulling off the upset win. I think he arguably won the fight against Ben Henderson. That was extremely close, so he could actually be the champion right now, and the roles could be reversed. So he's definitely a top tier guy. So I wouldn't, another spot similar to the Johnny Hendricks Lawler fight that we just discussed. It's hard laying the juice against a talented #1 contender like we have in both spots here. And that's the case here. I do think as time gets closer to fight day, I think that I'm leaning a little bit more towards Pettis, because I think if he can keep it upright, his striking is going to be the difference. So as far as a pure pick goes, I could see Pettis winning this fight. But again, am I going to lay that kind of juice against one of the best fighters in the world and Gilbert Melendez? I don't think I want to.
All right, going back to you, Frank Trigg, you had some interesting thoughts on Lawler and Hendricks going the distance. Here, that's the over 4.5 rounds as an even bigger favorite odds. Right now, over 4.5 is minus 180, under 4.5 is plus 150, considering, what a talented striker Pettis is, what a dangerous striker he is. Do you think that the under might be worth a shot here? Or do you expect this one to go 5 rounds as well?
I'm expecting this one to go the full 5 rounds, but I want to say something too, that if Pettis were 100%, and I'm fully confident in his injury recovery, that I would be picking Pettis in this one. The injury really laid a lot of factor on me. It was the reason why I'm picking Gilbert. But also, too, let's not forget, like Nick said, it's the wrestling game is going to be the deciding factor. Pettis has been training with Ben Askren, one of the best defensive guys in college wrestling, as he went through his title hunt, is his wrestling trainer and has got him on a great detail of stopping wrestling takedowns. But Melendez also has the advantage of always finding a way to get to the cage and taking you down against the cage. So that one's going to be a huge bout. I don't see these guys finishing. We're talking about #6 pound best fighter in the world, Anthony Pettis, and arguably you can put Gilbert Melendez within 2 spots of him. So we're talking about 2 of the best fighters in the world of all weight classes fighting each other at the same weight class in one night. This fight is going to absolutely go the distance, because I don't think either one of these guys is going to be able to finish a guy of this caliber because they're so closely matched up. But I do think that Gilbert's going to have the better cardio and the better wrestling for takedowns, which is going to be the only factor the judges are going to be able to really take a decision at and look at. Unless Pettis can backpedal, stay off the cage, and keep Gilbert in a long range, there's no way he's going to be able to stop the takedown from him. And Gilbert's just one of those guys that finds a way to get to the ground for the win.
All right, so you think that the layoffs and the injuries are affecting Pettis. So in general, do you think that fighters in the UFC come back too quickly from injuries like this?
I really do. I think they come back far too quickly. I mean, you're talking about guys. I mentioned Anderson Silva earlier. He's coming back and fighting Diaz here pretty quick. And it's way too early to come back from an injury like that. I don't care what he feels or what his coaches say, what his trainers say, what the doctors are saying. It's too early to come back from an injury like that, specifically because of the mental aspect that goes along with it. Same thing with Pettis. He's coming back way too early, I think, for this one, especially for a guy that hunts and wants to fight. He wants to fight 3, 4, 5 times a year, and he gets frustrated when he can't because he gets injured, but he's getting injured because he's training too hard. It's the reason why he's getting injured. He needs to take a little bit more time off, in my personal opinion.
All right, awesome thoughts. Both Frank Trigg and Nick Kalikas leaning towards Melendez at plus 210. And if it goes to the cards, as Frank Trigg is expecting, probably better to have the dog than a big favorite. Thanks so much, guys.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.